The man in aisle 5, Keanu Reeves, stood by the sliding glass doors of the CVS, wearing a plain hoodie and faded jeans. His beard was a little thicker than usual. No cameras followed him today. No bright lights, no red carpets, only the soft beep of barcode scanners, the low hum of fluorescent lights, and the occasional sneeze from aisle 12. He stepped inside slowly, like he was walking into a world forgotten by time. Nobody looked twice, and that was the point. He had come here for a reason, but not the one people would expect. A week earlier, Keanu had received a letter. It wasn't from an agent, or a fan, or a charity. It was handwritten, on wrinkled paper, slipped under the door of his foundation office in downtown Los Angeles. It simply read, "My name is Elena. I work night shifts at CVS. I take care of my little brother who has Down syndrome. They treat me like I don't matter. But I saw your interview once where you said every person deserves respect. If you meant it, just come see. You don't even have to speak. Just see." There was no last name, no return address, just those few words. Keanu couldn't get it out of his head, not because it asked for help, but because it didn't. For truth, so here he was, days later, standing under the harsh white lights of a 24-hour CVS. On the edge of Glendale, he wasn't here as Keanu Reeves. He was here as a customer. Oh, nobody. Aisle 5 smelled like cold medicine and something else. Tiredness. He picked up a small red basket and wandered, listening. There was a young man restocking shelves. He was barely 20, humming to himself until the manager passed by. Then the humming stopped, and he stood stiff, like a soldier in front of a general in the corner. An elderly woman asked where the glucose tablets were. She was ignored. Keanu walked slowly toward the back, where the pharmacy counter sat behind thick plastic and glass. A woman in a CVS vest with frizzy brown hair stood there. Counting bottles, she looked exhausted. But when a mother approached, cradling a sick child, the woman softened, speaking gently and clearly, offering a warm smile, even as her eyes seemed red from lack of sleep. Keanu watched closely. That had to be her, Elena. The name tag was cracked and faded. Her fingers moved fast, but her kindness was slow and steady. She crouched down to speak to the little boy, handing him a small sticker, and then, just as the mother thanked her and walked away, the manager appeared. "How many times have I told you not to hand out stickers without permission?" He snapped. "I'm sorry, sir," Elena said quietly. "Sorry, doesn't stock shelves." Keanu felt something rise in his chest, not anger, something deeper, something like shame. The kind that comes when you witness dignity being crushed. Under boots of control, he turned away before the manager could notice him watching. He didn't want to blow his cover. Not yet. He grabbed a bottle of cold medicine he didn't need and wandered again. At the self-checkout line, he noticed a man in a suit arguing with a woman over a coupon. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. The man waved the receipt. In her face, "Do you even know how to scan a code properly?" he said. Keanu stepped forward without thinking. "I can help," he said softly. The woman blinked at him. "Thank you," she whispered. The man in the suit didn't even glance his way. He walked off muttering. Keanu bent down, scanned the code, and finished the purchase. The woman gave him a tired smile and left with her small bag. He stayed silent. But inside he felt it building, this quiet, persistent, knowing that what he was seeing wasn't just one bad day. It was a system. Elena passed him once while carrying a box of supplies. She looked at him briefly, maybe sensing something different. But then she looked away, too busy, too tired to question. That night, Keanu left the CVS without revealing who he was. But he came back the next night, and the one after each. Time wearing something different, always blending in. He became a regular, one of the quiet ones. The ones who notice. He saw how the same manager berated a cashier for taking too long to bag items. He watched Elena clean a spill herself while others walked past. He heard a coworker mutter something cruel behind her back, and then he saw something that stopped him cold. Elena was sitting outside on her break, eating a plain sandwich with one hand, holding a sketch pad in the other. On the page was a drawing. A child, smiling next to him, a woman. Holding his hand, underneath she had written, "My brother, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, his hero." Tears touched Keanu's eyes before he could stop them. She had drawn herself as the hero. And maybe she was. He stood still, watching from behind a row of bushes, something breaking open in him. This wasn't just a story about a tired CVS employee. It was about how people survive when no one cheers for them, when no one thanks them, when no one even sees them. Keanu had come to verify a letter instead. He had found something rare, a living, breathing example of resilience. But that was only the beginning. What he didn't know yet, what Elena had never written in that letter, was that she was hiding something, something that could shatter everything around her, and it would all come crashing down in aisle 10, just days from now, and Keanu would be the only one who could stop it. But first, he had to keep watching, keep listening, because sometimes the truth doesn't reveal itself until you walk far enough into the quiet, and sometimes the smallest places hold the loudest echoes of human strength. Asterisk aisle 10 holds. The truth, it was a Tuesday night when everything changed. Keanu Reeves had already been coming to the CVS for nearly a week, slipping in unnoticed, wearing a different hat or hoodie each time. Nobody saw him as anything other than a quiet customer. Sometimes he bought gum, sometimes vitamins, once a bottle of cheap shampoo, but mostly he watched. And he learned. He learned that Elena always covered the late shifts, even when she wasn't supposed to. He learned that she smiled at every customer, even the ones who ignored her. And he learned that her eyes had a weight in them, like someone carrying a mountain no one else could see. That night, something was different. The store was quieter than usual. A light rain tapped against the windows, and the fluorescent bulbs above aisle 10 flickered once, then buzzed back to life. Keanu was walking slowly, pretending to look at toothpaste. When he heard the sound, not a crash, not a shout, just a gasp, it came from aisle 10. He turned the corner and stopped. Elena was on the floor, her hands were trembling, and her face was pale. Round her were scattered boxes, cold and flu medicine, that had fallen from the shelves, but that's not what stopped Keanu's heart. It was the small boy beside her. He was no older than 10. He had a thick coat on, even though the store was warm. His eyes were wide and confused. Clutched Elena's hand with both of his. "It's okay, Leo," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It's okay." The boy didn't speak. He rocked slightly. Staring at the ground, Keanu crouched down slowly. "Do you need help?" he asked gently. Elena looked up, startled. It took her a second to recognize him. I didn't know anyone else was here," she said. "I was in the back," Keanu replied. "I can get someone, if no," she said quickly, too quickly. "Please, no manager, no one else." Keanu looked into her eyes. There was fear there, and something deeper. Shame. Elena tried to stand, pulling the boy with her, but he clung to her arm, burying his face in her sleeve. Keanu looked at him, then back at her. "This is your brother?" he asked softly. She hesitated, then nodded. "His name is Leo," she said. "He has autism. Sometimes he gets overwhelmed." Oh. Keanu didn't speak. He just sat down on the floor beside them. The silence stretched between them like a thread. Finally, Elena spoke again. "I bring him here sometimes during my shift," she whispered. "I know I'm not supposed to, but there's no one else to watch him. My neighbor used to help, but she moved. I don't have... I don't have anyone else." Keanu stayed quiet, letting her speak. "If they find out, they'll fire me," she said. "They'll say it's a safety risk, or a violation, or something else. They'll find a reason. But I can't leave him alone at home, not after what happened last time." Keanu's chest tightened. He didn't ask what happened last time. He didn't need to. Elena wiped her eyes quickly, trying to stay composed. "He usually stays in the break room," she continued. "I bring him snacks, a tablet. He's okay most nights. But sometimes the lights flicker, or someone slams a door. He panics." Keanu looked down at Leo, who was now drawing small circles on the floor with his finger. "He's just a kid," Keanu said gently. He's not a problem. Elena gave him a tired smile. Tell that to the rules. Keanu helped her pick up the boxes. When they were done, he offered to walk them both to the back. Elena hesitated and nodded. The three of them walked down the aisle together. Quiet but connected in a way that words couldn't explain. When they reached the employee area, Elena opened the break room door. It was small and dim, with a worn-out couch and a tiny microwave. A blanket was folded in the corner. Leo crawled onto the couch and pulled the blanket over his head. Elena stood in the doorway, exhausted. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu paused. He wanted to say who he really was. He wanted to tell her that he was here for her, but not yet. Instead, he just nodded and stepped back into the store. The rest of the night passed quietly, but Keanu couldn't stop thinking about that moment on the floor of aisle 10. He thought about how many other Elenas there were in the world. How many people were breaking rules not out of laziness, but out of love. He left the store just after midnight, and that night, for the first time in years, he cried. Not for himself, but for a world that called compassion a violation. What Keanu didn't know was that the store's security cameras had caught everything, and someone else had been watching. Someone who didn't believe in second chances. Someone who was about to make Elena's life much harder and force Keanu to make a choice, stay hidden, or fight back. Asterisk security tape and silent threats next night. Keanu returned to the CVS earlier than usual. He couldn't shake the image of Elena's face from his mind. It's the way she'd clutched her little brother, the fear in her voice, the weight she carried. He had seen suffering before, but this felt different. This wasn't a dramatic cry for help. It was quiet survival, the kind that most people ignored. He entered the store through the front, blending in like always. No cameras turned toward him. No announcements were made. Just the soft chime of the door and the distant voice over the intercom reminding customers about flu shots. He nodded silently to the cashier, but as he reached aisle 10, something felt off. The shelves were half-stocked. 2 carts stood abandoned in the middle of the floor. There were whispers coming from the back, sharp, urgent whispers. Keanu walked slowly toward the sound. Pretending to browse hair gel behind the pharmacy counter, he saw the manager. His name was Doug, tall, thin, always looking like he had something bitter in his mouth. Tonight, his arms were crossed, and his face was tight with anger. Next to him stood another man, someone Keanu hadn't seen before. He wore a gray blazer and had a badge clipped to his belt, loss prevention officer, and in front of them, Elena stood alone. Her face was pale. Her shoulders stiff. Keanu could only hear part of the conversation. Double quotes, ... Not authorized to bring minors into restricted areas, ... The man in the blazer was saying. Elena tried to speak, but Doug interrupted. You've put the company at legal risk, he snapped. This isn't a daycare. We have rules for a reason. Keanu moved closer, stepping into the edge of the aisle where he could see better without being seen. Elena's voice was low, but steady. I had no choice, she said. Leo can't be left alone. It's not our problem. Doug shot back. He didn't hurt anyone, she whispered. He just got scared. I calmed him down. The man in the blazer sighed. The tape shows him outside of designated zones. That's an automatic termination under store policy. I'm sorry. Yeah. Keanu's blood went cold. They were going to fire her right here, right now, without warning, without understanding, without a second thought. He stepped forward, about to speak, but stopped himself. Not yet. His heart pounded in his chest. Every part of him wanted to shout, to protect her, to throw off the hoodie and reveal who he was. But he didn't, because if he showed up as Keanu Reeves, the story would change, and Elena's truth would disappear under the weight of his name. He had to be careful. He turned away, stepped outside, pulled out his phone. He called someone he hadn't spoken to in years. Her name was Maria Cho, a former journalist. Now a quiet investigator working with community watch groups that protected workers in low-wage jobs. Maria, Keanu said when she answered, I need a favor. Inside the CVS, Elena stood in silence as the badge-wearing man handed her a paper. You'll need to clear out your locker, he said. You'll receive your final paycheck by mail. Security will walk you out. Doug crossed his arms with satisfaction. Elena didn't cry. She just nodded, biting her lip to keep it steady. Can I say goodbye to him? She asked. The man nodded. She walked slowly to the break room. Leo was sitting quietly, building a tiny house from folded paper napkins. Are we going home? He asked, looking up. She knelt beside him, brushed his hair gently, and smiled. Yes. She said, We're going home. Keanu was waiting outside by the edge of the parking lot, half hidden by a tree. He saw her step out with a box in her hands and her brother at her side. He walked toward them slowly. You're leaving? He asked. She looked up, startled, and gave a weak smile. They found out. Keanu looked at the box. What are you going to do now? He asked. I don't know, she said honestly. I can't afford to be unemployed, but I couldn't. Leave him alone. I just did what I had to. Keanu nodded. You did right, he said. That's not how they see it. He paused. What if someone else saw it differently? She looked up. His face had changed just slightly. His voice was still calm, his hoodie still plain. But something was shining in his eyes now, something powerful, like he wasn't just another customer, like he had been sent for a reason. Who are you? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Keanu opened his mouth to answer, but before he could speak, Leo tugged on Elena's sleeve. I'm hungry, said softly. Elena blinked. I'll figure something out, she said to Keanu, stepping away. He watched them walk toward the bus stop, his fists clenched at his sides. He wouldn't let this be. It's the end. Not for her, not for Leo. He turned, pulled out his phone, and sent one message to Maria. Dig up everything. Labor laws, surveillance abuse, store violations. We'll cover all costs. We're taking this all the way. And then he added one more line. But don't leak my name. Not yet, because he wasn't done being invisible. Not until every quiet worker like Elena had a voice. What Keanu didn't know, what none of them knew, was that another employee had seen everything too. A cashier named Rita. And tonight, Rita had taken something from the back office, a USB drive, with footage that CVS management never wanted the public to see. And now, the truth was heading for the surface. Asterisk the video that changed everything 3 days past. The CVS store in Glendale continued its routine, the beeps, the sliding doors, the quiet hum of forgotten lives moving between aisles. But something had shifted. Not inside the store, outside across phones. Across cities, across hearts. Rita, the cashier with tired eyes and fast hands, had uploaded the security footage to an anonymous community page. She didn't say much. She didn't even name names. She just posted it with one sentence. Is this what compassion gets you? The video was grainy. It showed Elena kneeling in aisle 10, comforting her brother. It showed Leo clinging to her, shaking, scared. And then it showed the manager, Doug, standing over her, pointing his finger. It showed her being let out alone. No. Shouting no violence, just quiet cruelty. And then, just for a moment, a man stepped into frame, blurry, hoodie up, helping Elena pick up the boxes. His face was mostly hidden, but not to everyone. Within 12 hours, the video had been viewed over 1 million times. Within 24 hours, it had crossed 10. People didn't just watch it, they felt it. And in comment after comment, one question appeared again and again. Who is the man in the hoodie? Keanu Reeves sat in his small kitchen, the morning sun cutting through the blinds. His phone buzzed, non-stop. Maria called him 5 times. When he finally picked up, her voice was sharp. You're in the video, she said. Double quotes. I know, he replied. Softly, they figured it out. Some people already matched your walk, your hands, even your voice when you spoke to Elena. It's spreading. Keanu sighed. I didn't want it to be about me. It's too late, Maria said. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Keanu was silent for a moment. Then he asked, How's Elena? I found her, Maria said. She's been staying With a friend across town, sleeping on a couch with Leo. She hasn't seen the video yet.
Ow!
Tell her not to be afraid, Keanu said. Tell her I'll come to her. That night, Keanu knocked gently on the door of a small apartment complex. A young woman with bright eyes opened the door. You're really him? She whispered. Keanu smiled gently. I'm just here for Elena. She'll let him in. Elena was in the corner, helping Leo build a small puzzle on the carpet. She looked up. Her face froze. She stood slowly. You read. Keanu took off the hoodie. I'm still me, he said softly. Just someone who saw you. She blinked, stunned. Why? She asked, why were you even there? He sat down across from her, keeping his voice low and steady. Because you wrote me, he said. You asked me to see. Not to save, not to speak, just to see. And I did. Her eyes welled up. I thought you'd forget, she whispered. People forget, not me, Keanu said. Not when it matters. He told her about the video, about the world watching, about the stories being written, about the thousands of messages from strangers wanting to help. But her face didn't light up. Instead, she looked worried. What if they hurt him, she asked. What if people come after Leo? Keanu leaned forward. They won't. Not on my watch. Outside the apartment, cameras had already started gathering. But inside, something more powerful was happening. Truth was finding its voice. Not through shouting, but through presence. Across the country, news stations began reporting. Mystery. Man in CVS video confirmed as Keanu Reeves. Keanu goes undercover. Defends single guardian and special needs child. Actor sparks national debate on labor policy and compassion. Keanu refused to give interviews. Instead, he posted a single video message on his personal page. No makeup. No studio. Just his voice, he said. I met someone who reminded me that strength isn't loud. It's not shiny. It's not about headlines. It's about showing up when no one's looking. Elena didn't ask for fame. She didn't ask for help. She just tried to survive with love. And the world tried to punish her for it. That's not okay. It never was. And now it's time we do something about it. The video was shared by teachers, nurses, single parents, night workers, caregivers, and students. People who had been told they were replaceable. Now they felt seen. Meanwhile, Tivus Corporate released a cold statement. We are reviewing the incident and internal procedures. But it was too late. The public had already spoken. Petitions began. Boycotts threatened. A hashtag spread like fire. Hashtag is EEYOU. Elena. Keanu didn't care about being praised. He only cared about protecting Leo. So he did something quietly. Something few people ever found out about. He called his lawyer and arranged for a trust to be created. In Leo's name, education, housing, therapy, support, and he didn't put his name on it because real kindness doesn't need credit. One morning, Elena opened her eyes to find Leo already awake, sitting by the window. Look, he said, pointing outside. She walked over. There were kids on the sidewalk holding signs. Some said, "Thank you, Elena." Some had drawings of her and Leo, and one simply said, "Your story made me tell my boss no." Elena turned to Keanu, who was quietly sipping coffee on the couch. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to," he said. "Just promise me one thing." "What?" "Don't stop being who you are." She smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it reached her eyes. But this wasn't the end. Far from it, because CVS wasn't done fighting. And the next move they made would shock everyone. Even Keanu. Asterisk. When giants pushed back, by the time Monday came, the world had already chosen a side. Elena's story had traveled far, beyond Glendale. It had reached city halls, parliaments, coffee shops, school buses. Her name had become a symbol, not of pity, but of quiet strength, and people loved her for it. But not everyone. at CVS headquarters in Rhode Island. The boardroom was packed with lawyers, publicists, and executives in gray suits, and at the head of the table sat a man named Raymond Slater, CVS single quotes S senior executive vice. He wasn't interested in compassion. He was interested in compassion. He was interested in control. He had just finished reading the latest financial report. Stock had dipped. Social media was on fire. Celebrities were rallying behind Keanu Reeves. And the worst part? Keanu hadn't even tried to start anything. He had just existed. That made him dangerous. "This is getting out of hand," Raymond snapped. "You let one night shift worker make us look like monsters? We need to remind the public who runs this place?" A younger executive shifted in his chair. "If we push back now, it might seem." "Do it," Raymond said, slamming his fist on the table. "File breach of policy. Threaten legal action. Frame it as unauthorized filming on company property. Say she endangered a minor. Make them scared to keep supporting her." Someone else whispered, "But it's Keanu Reeves." Raymond stared coldly across the table. "Then let's see if he can bleed." Keanu got the call from Maria the next morning. Her voice was tight. "They're going after her. Full legal force." Keanu was quiet. Then he asked calmly, "What's their angle?" "Violation of corporate privacy," she said. "They're blaming Rita for the footage, calling Leo a public safety risk, trying to paint Elena as emotionally unstable. They're trying to erase the humanity from the story." Keanu leaned back, his eyes closed. He had hoped they'd stay silent. He had hoped kindness would win without force. But some mountains don't move unless you shake the ground beneath them. He stood up. "Schedule a press conference," he said. "You." "Sure?" Maria asked. "Once you do this, it's war." Keanu nodded. Double quotes. "Then it's time to fight." The press conference was held on the steps of a downtown legal center. Keanu didn't wear a suit. He wore the same gray hoodie he'd worn in aisle 10. The same one from the video. He stood at the podium. No script, no teleprompter, just truth. "You've heard parts of the story," he began. "But let me tell you what you didn't see." He paused, voice steady. "Elena didn't break a rule. She followed a greater law, the law of love. She protected her brother when the world turned its back. CVS didn't fire her because she was dangerous. They fired her because she made them uncomfortable, because she reminded them of what humanity looks like." Camera flashes popped, reporters leaned in, and now they want to punish her again. They want to twist her story into something ugly. They want to scare others from speaking up. They want to silence compassion. Not this time. His voice rose slightly. "I'm here to tell every worker who's ever been treated like they're invisible. You matter. Your story matters. No company, no executive, no legal threat can erase your worth." The crowd erupted in applause. But Keanu wasn't done. He held up a document. "This is a formal legal defense fund," he said. "For Elena, for Rita, for anyone who's ever been punished for doing the right thing." He placed it on the podium, and this he pointed to his chest. "This is not a celebrity endorsement. This is personal." People watching at home felt chills, because he wasn't acting. He was standing across the street. In a black SUV, Raymond Slater watched through tinted windows. His jaw clenched. "We underestimated him," he muttered. "What now?" His assistant asked. Raymond narrowed his eyes. "Dig deeper. Everyone has a flaw. Even him." Meanwhile, Elena watched the press conference from the apartment couch. She had her hand over her mouth. Leo sat beside her, drawing a picture of a rocket ship. "He's a hero," Leo said simply. Elena nodded, tears in her eyes. "Yes, baby," she whispered. "He is." But as the day ended, Maria received an anonymous email. It contained scanned documents, a whisper of something buried in Keanu's past, something he had never spoken about. Not in interviews, not even with close friends. Maria called him that evening. "They're going after you now," she said. "Let them." Keanu replied. "They found something, Keanu," she warned. "Something personal." He paused. "Then I guess it's time," he said. "Time to tell the whole story, because before this was over." people would learn the truth about why Keanu had walked into that CVS in the first place, and it wasn't just because of a letter. It was because he had once lost someone very much like Elena, and now the past was about to return. The reason he walked in before the world knew his name, before the fame, before the camera flashes and movie posters. Keanu Reeves had a sister named Emily. She was 6 years younger. She loved drawing cats. She had special needs, and she was the kindest person he ever knew. When Keanu was 24, chasing auditions and living off instant noodles, Emily used to wait at the window for him every evening. She would wave, and if she'd seen him the hour before. Their mother worked long hours. Their father was gone. Keanu became her protector without knowing it. One night, Emily got sick. A quiet sickness, not dramatic, not loud, but persistent. Keanu took her to a clinic. The nurse at the desk didn't look up. They waited for 5 hours. Emily never complained, but by the time they saw a doctor, it was too late. Keanu never forgot the way she looked at him before the machine started beeping, like she was trying to comfort him. She passed away holding his hand. After her funeral, he walked into a CVS to buy toothpaste. He remembered standing there numb, staring at the rows of products under fluorescent lights. A woman stocking shelves dropped a bottle. She apologized to the manager. He didn't respond. He just walked away. That was the moment Keanu promised himself something. If I ever become someone, I will come back here. To places like this, I will look for the invisible people, and I will see them. That's why he answered Elena's letter. Not because he was curious, but because he had been waiting for the right moment to fulfill a promise. And that moment was her. When Maria told him the legal team at CVS had discovered Emily's death and were planning to twist it to make him look unstable, Keanu didn't panic. He just smiled sadly. Then let them, he said. I'm ready. But Maria had another idea. Don't defend it, she said. Own it. Tell the world before they can poison it. So he did. Keanu released a second video. This time, it started with silence. Then he looked into the camera and said, her name was Emily. He told the story, no tears, no theatrics, just truth. And millions of people cried watching it, because now it all made sense. The quiet man in aisle 5 wasn't just helping a stranger. He was honoring someone he had lost, and the world felt that they didn't see a celebrity, they saw a brother, a human being. And something changed. The pressure on CVS became unbearable. Under public demand, they reversed their statement. They issued a full apology. They offered Elena her job back, but she declined instead. She took a new offer from a community health network that had seen her story and created a new role just for her, advocate for working guardians, and Rita. She became a whistleblower for a national labor justice group. As for Leo, he started school with a full scholarship provided anonymously, though he somehow knew exactly who it came from the man who helped us pick up the boxes. He said proudly. Keanu never confirmed it, but the smile on his face said enough. Months passed, then one night, Elena got a letter, handwritten, no return address. Inside was a single sentence.
Hi.
Thank you for keeping your promise to him. I kept mine to her, and below it, a drawing. A child holding hands with a woman, and beside them, a man in a who, Keanu, didn't go back to the CVS in Glendale. It no longer existed. The store had closed after a community boycott, a small community garden stood in its place now, with one plaque under a tree. It didn't mention any names, just these words: see the invisible. Lift the quiet love without cameras. Keanu stood beside that tree one morning, sunglasses on, hoodie up, your hands in his pockets. Nobody recognized him, and that was perfect. Because some heroes don't need applause. They just need to know the promise they made in silence was kept forever.